Hunting Jessica Brok arrives in 2025 as a gritty, high-stakes action thriller that stakes its claim in a crowded genre through a distinctly African lens. Directed by Alistair Orr, known for his sharp handling of tension and character-driven suspense, this film centers on Jessica Brok, a former Black Ops assassin whose attempt to leave her lethal past behind is violently upended. The core hook here is simple but effective. A mother forced back into a brutal world to protect her daughter. It's a premise that promises visceral action and emotional stakes, and Orr's involvement signals a thoughtful blending of pulse-pounding sequences with psychological depth. Over the next 12 minutes, we're breaking down how Hunting Jessica Brok carves out space within the action thriller landscape, examining its direction, performances, writing, and place in the genre's evolving terrain. On the surface, Hunting Jessica Brok fits squarely within the action thriller tradition, but it also carries a distinct regional flavor by setting the story in the African wilderness and focusing on a protagonist who balances motherhood with a deadly skill set. The premise is lean. Jessica, a former elite assassin, thought her dangerous days were over until a mission gone wrong pulls her back into conflict. The film's 128-minute runtime suggests a deliberate pacing that balances explosive set pieces with character moments. Released theatrically in 2025, Hunting Jessica Brok arrives amid a resurgence of female-led action films that emphasize complex protagonists rather than one-dimensional heroes. It sits alongside titles like Atomic Blonde and Hannah, but differentiates itself through its setting and cultural context, emphasizing survival and family as much as combat and espionage. Juxtaposed with wide shots that underscore isolation or danger. Editing rhythm probably varies to match the narrative beats, rapid cuts during combat scenes to escalate adrenaline, and longer takes during quieter psychological moments to build suspense. The film's action sequences likely avoid flashy choreography in favor of brutal, realistic confrontations that reflect Jessica's cold efficiency and emotional stakes. The visual language of Hunting Jessica Brok is probably anchored in authenticity rather than spectacle. Camera work might favor handheld shots during chase or fight scenes to immerse viewers in the chaos, while steadier shots allow the emotional weight of Jessica's journey to resonate. Lighting contrasts could be used strategically, harsh daylight exposing vulnerabilities, low light concealing threats. The director's approach to tension likely blends silence and sound design to create unease, a technique that's essential in thrillers where what's not seen or heard can be as threatening as what is. Overall, Orr's style here seems to balance visceral immediacy with thoughtful visual storytelling, avoiding genre cliches in favor of a tactile, immersive experience. Danica Jones leads the cast as Jessica Brok, and based on her previous roles, she brings a compelling mix of intensity and vulnerability necessary for a character balancing lethal skill with maternal instincts. Jones's ability to convey layered emotions without excessive exposition will be key to grounding the film's emotional core. Supporting her is a strong ensemble, including Clyde Burning and Richard Lekumku, whose experience in genre and dramatic roles suggests a credible and varied group of antagonists and allies. The casting of Hlubi Mboya and Anthony Osayemi adds further depth, likely enriching the film's cultural texture and broadening its emotional range. Early reactions suggest the chemistry among the cast adds credibility to the tense interpersonal dynamics essential in a thriller where trust is scarce and stakes are life and death. This ensemble's presence hints at a film that values character interplay as much as action. Performances probably balance physicality with nuanced expressions of loyalty, betrayal, and survival. Given the film's focus on Jessica's dual roles as mother and warrior, the supporting cast likely serves as mirrors and foils, illuminating different aspects of her character. The chemistry between Jones and her daughter's actress will be crucial in elevating the emotional stakes beyond standard thriller fare. The broader cast, including Niels Clayson and Catherine Neethling, seems poised to flesh out a world that feels lived in and dangerous, rather than a generic backdrop for shootouts. This mix of talent suggests Hunting Jessica Brok aims to blend blockbuster energy with grounded performances. The writing, credited to David D. Jones, Garth McCarthy and Alistair Orr, appears to hinge on a classical structure of a reluctant hero pulled back into a deadly game. Thematically, the film likely explores identity, the cost of violence, and the resilience required to protect one's family in hostile environments. The premise naturally invites tension between Jessica's past and present selves, creating fertile ground for internal and external conflict. Given the runtime and genre, the narrative probably unfolds in a dual rhythm, moments of intense action punctuated by quieter scenes that probe Jessica's motivations and fears. While the plot may follow familiar thriller arcs, the setting and character focus suggest a fresh take on the genre's conventions, emphasizing personal stakes alongside broader geopolitical or mercenary conflicts. Based on the premise and cast, Hunting Jessica Brok seems to aim for a balance between adrenaline-fueled sequences and character-driven storytelling. The screenplay likely uses the African wilderness not just as a backdrop, but as a thematic element. Dangerous, unpredictable, and isolating, mirroring Jessica's internal landscape. The film appears to lean into themes of redemption and survival, with the writing probably intertwining Jessica's past missions and present threats to create layered tension. Dialogue may be lean and functional, letting the action and performances carry much of the emotional weight. The narrative structure is expected to be straightforward, but effective, building to a climax that tests both Jessica's combat skills and maternal resolve. Hunting Jessica Brok slots into the action thriller genre alongside films like John Wick and the Taken series, but it stakes a distinct claim through its South African setting and focus on a female protagonist with a complex past. Unlike many genre entries that prioritize spectacle over substance, this film seems to strive for a grounded approach, blending visceral action with character depth. Compared to similar titles, it probably offers less of the hyper-stylized choreography and more emphasis on realism and emotional consequence. This positions it well for audiences seeking thrillers that are both exciting and thought-provoking. While it's not a franchise entry, its narrative setup leaves room for potential sequels or spin-offs, depending on audience reception. In terms of audience expectations, Hunting Jessica Brok seems to cater to viewers who appreciate tightly choreographed action grounded in a believable world. The film likely resists overuse of twists or gimmicks, instead relying on a strong central character and clear stakes. Compared to other thrillers, it probably balances adrenaline with moments of introspection, making it a hybrid of genre thrills and character study. Fans of female-led action films will find familiar beats, but the film's unique setting and cultural context may offer fresh perspectives. Its pacing and runtime suggest a deliberate unfolding rather than relentless intensity, which will appeal to those who want their action tempered with narrative substance. Hunting Jessica Brok will most likely resonate with viewers who value character complexity alongside action. Those drawn to strong female leads navigating personal and physical battles will find a lot to appreciate here. However, the film's measured pacing and grounded approach may not satisfy audiences seeking non-stop spectacle or highly stylized action sequences. The strengths lie in the lead performance, the authenticity of the setting, and the director's focused visual storytelling. Potential weaknesses could include reliance on genre conventions or familiarity of plot elements, but these are offset by the film's commitment to emotional depth and atmosphere. Overall, it's a solid pick for thriller fans looking for a cinematic experience that combines grit, heart, and tension. So where does Hunting Jessica Brok land? For viewers craving an action thriller with a strong female lead, a distinctive setting, and a director who balances pulse-pounding sequences with character nuance, this film is worth your time. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it sharpens the edges of familiar tropes through its cultural specificity and emotional stakes. If you want a thriller that respects your intelligence and delivers solid performances alongside credible action, Hunting Jessica Brok should be on your radar. For those expecting non-stop fireworks or a deeply twisty plot, temper expectations. This is a film that unfolds with purpose, offering a satisfying blend of adrenaline and substance. At its core, Hunting Jessica Brok is about a mother's fierce will to survive and protect, set against the unforgiving backdrop of a world she thought she'd escaped. It reminds us that sometimes the past isn't done with you, and the fight for family can be the most brutal mission of all. If you're interested in a thriller that combines emotional depth with raw action and a fresh setting, this film delivers. Thanks for watching this deep dive here on Cut to Reel. If you enjoyed this breakdown, stick around for more sharp analyses that cut through the noise and get to the heart of what makes movies work. Until next time, keep watching with purpose. Thanks for watching Cut to Reel. I'll see you next time for another look beneath the surface of cinema's best.